All right, so we hear there's no harder job than being a parent.
Kids and their parents are facing more challenges than ever. The author of Save Your Kids Now, though, is here to help. Please welcome Dr. Douglas Haddad, also known as Dr. Doug.
Yes,
thanks for being here.
Thank you very much.
And the book is not only a guide for kids, it's also a guide for parents, too. Tell us about the book.
Right. Parents, any adults that actually care about a kid, this book addresses ways for kids to achieve overall super health. And it's mental, physical, and social well-being. It also addresses all the major problems that adults need to know about, and there's so many nowadays. Then there's internet problems with blogging or social networking websites, cyber stalking. So parents need to be aware of all the problems and also all the traditional problems of the addictive behaviors. So my book actually takes practical experience and also scientific researches to come up with, well, what problems do we have, what are the roots of the problems, and then how to best solve them.
You have to find the root of the problem, though, to actually address the problem, so I do love that.
Yes.
One of the most common complaints that we hear parents always scream about is trying to get their kids to eat healthier, to eat better.
Right.
And what do you say to that?
Introduce it at an early age. I mean, the more food preferences, the better early on. And also, you know, getting a child involved in the process, whether a parent actually sits down and writes out a list of different foods that are healthy, and then the child gets to pick from that. Say, all right, so this week you get one choice. Next week you get a different choice. And get the child involved in this. You know, there's so many different foods out there, and certainly during lunchtime, you want to prepare a child with all the healthy nutrition possible to fuel them for the day, so they have energy to perform, so they have brain power to perform, so on and so forth.
What if you have a kid who's a really picky? I know I was a picky eater.
So was
as a kid.
I.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. Really
and they
wasn't,
insist on eating, you know, bad things.
Well, I say give them alternatives. Like, instead of a candy bar, kind of compromise. Have a granola bar. It has more fiber, has less sugar. You know, instead of, say, the chips, have something like sunflower seeds, or have vitamin E, you get your magnesium, selenium. You know, instead of just, I don't know, popsicles that are regular, get vitamin C popsicles.
Do you ever worry, though, that you're giving kids too many choices? Is that ever a concern or no?
I wouldn't say so, no, because
Okay.
as long as they're healthy choices, they're choices, it makes them feel involved. And that's part of my book, too. And then in getting a child involved, that buys into effective communication, which is very important for adults to have with children.
Right. So is working out, exercise for the kids, right?
Right. You know, exercise, that word connotates work, so I never like to use that. It's more about activities, so just getting them outside and playing. And that's what's important, whether it's just running or biking or swimming or sports or dancing. That's what a kid needs to do. I mean, you know, take it to the next level if they want to be an athlete and learn the proper form of lifting weights, maybe high repetitions. That comes later. But basically, just getting the heart rate up, getting their metabolism up, this builds sort of foundational skills for when they get older, and then they could practice it when they get older. It's a lifestyle habit.
Your first book, your book previous to this, was based more on fitness. So is that kind of what inspired this for you, or how did this one come about?
Well, this one, every single teacher that I've ever had has been an inspiration to me. And I've always been inspired by my parents and been inspired by teachers and people that have cared about kids. And that's kind of shaped who I was and why I became a teacher. So over 10 years of teaching, I've seen kids go through a lot of hardship. You know, I've went through various hardships as any other kid did. And I always like to help kind of guide a child on a path and provide parents, okay, with the necessary tools to help them, you know, guide their children.
What do you say to parents? Because I think raising, I mean, and again, we don't have children. We don't have kids, right? You don't have kids? No?
No.
I have my sugar, my prince, my cats, but I remember growing up, I have 5 younger brothers and sisters. We're all so different. So raising a kid that's 8, 9, 10 years old, it's okay. When they turn like 13, 14, things shift and change. There's huge pressures, rebellious issues. What do you say to parents that are dealing with that kind of issue in terms of rebellion and things like that?
Well, they have to, first of all, the most important thing that in me speaking with so many kids is they want to be understood. They want to be accepted. So a lot of parents that just dictate a one-way street, they're not openly communicative with their child. They have to actively listen to a child. They have to understand that there is that maturational crisis, that they are going to change hormonally, imbalances are going to shift. They're going to have situational crisis also, where you know, they might have broken up with a boyfriend or girlfriend, or they might have, you know, been rejected by one of their best friends at the time.
Your body's changing, things like that too.
They have to understand that. And then, so they're listening to a child, and what's also very important is when you're communicating messages, make sure it's consistent. And unfortunately, you know, a lot of families nowadays are split families. So, you know, a child has to go back and forth. They're getting these contradictory messages, such as, okay, well, how much time do you spend on homework? What should I wear? Who should be my peer groups? So on and so forth. So a child is going to be reticent to oblige to any sort of requests or commands made maybe for one parent than the other if that consistency isn't there.
So do you want to make sure you're on the same page so you don't confuse the child?
Absolutely, and you have to look at the child's interests first over your own, and you have to, and a parent makes sacrifices, and anybody that cares about a kid will make a sacrifice taking into account the emotions, the feelings, the needs of a child. And I think one other thing I want to say with communication is that even the individual parent or adult, if they say something like, "You're very smart, but you made some stupid mistakes in that test."
Oh, gosh.
Well, I mean,
a little harsh.
Well, the thing is, the child only hears what comes after that conjunction, but. But if you say something like, "You're a very smart child, and you could have worked a little bit harder and put in more effort and achieved better," that "and" word makes them see, all right, there's a positive message there, I am smart, and also I could work a little bit harder at something that's a constructive criticism, and that will lend to improvement.
Focus on the positive, and then maybe just slide the...
Right, with the word "and."
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and not but. Use that with me more often. Thank you.
Now listen, you have a book signing coming up, right?
Yes, November 13th in North Haven at Barnes & Noble from 6 to 8 p.m.
Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Oh,
Ooh,
lucky number. Yeah.
6 until 8 o'clock?
There's no elevators around, though, for this, so you can just walk right in.
I like that. No black cats either, I don't think, right?
And
No.
the book, once again, is called Save Your Kids Now.
You know what I
Dr.
love?
Douglas Haddad. I know what you love. You love the fact that Dr. Doug brought us gifts.
Yes, he did. Break those babies out,
Yes,
Dr. Doug.
I did, absolutely.
Oh,
One
the
for
word's
each of
getting
you.
out on us,
Sonia,
Sonia.
for you.
Oh, my goodness.
See, it's really all about one mission for kids and adults. And there's the front, and
Okay.
Desiree, if you want to hold the back.
Yeah, it's all about one mission. And then what does the back say? Oh, the Super Health Revolution. I love this.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love positive words of affirmation.
There's 4 different components to Super Health, and this is overall, it could encompass anything for adults or children. Exercise well, eat well, sleep well, and think well. And if people understand that's what overall Super Health is all about, then as a result, you know, their mental, physical, and social well-being is going to be intact, no matter what.
I love it. Dr. Doug,
Thank you so much.
That's what it's all about.
Thank you. The question is,